Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Michael at Michael's Money School. I'm glad you joined me today. We're going to be talking about investing versus savings. I think right now it's a topic that people should really be considering quite heavily. Your money needs to be put to better use, right? Basically everyone's in financial difficulties, they're losing jobs, their income's being dropped, and people are starting to turn now to their savings to see them through some rainy days. And having that in place, especially for the future, having learned our lessons now, is so crucial. So what's the difference between saving and investing? So saving is typically easy access accounts with your bank. They'll use that money to loan to people and earn interest, and a bit of that interest is passed on to you. I mean, being an easy access savings account, the rates are fairly low, right? So you're looking at about 0.05%, maybe up to the dizzying heights of 1% if you're lucky. So the returns aren't great, but the risk is also very, very low. And for many people, that's great. And it works for many things. It's great to have a small pot of money saved up as a rainy day fund if you are looking to cover maybe 1 to 3 months worth of bills if you lose your job. It could be saving for a house deposit, it could be many things. And it works for that, but as long as you're planning to use it short term, if it's a long-term goal, you might want to consider moving it into other things. So what is investing? The most important thing to remember is that it is not the same thing. An investment account is not a savings account. You're normally going to open an investment ISA and you're going to put your money into that. It is tax-free up to £20,000 per year. Now, when you're putting money into this, it's not going to just sit in an account like an easy access account and just be static and have minimal interest. It's going to be put to work. So you're buying small parts of companies which naturally are going to rise and are going to fall. And the real key to having something in investments is to hold on to it for a long period of time. If you're going to need access to that money in the next 0 to 5 years, do not put it into an investment account because the chances are you're going to lose. So obviously the aim of the game is to make some money with some growth on some stocks. Essentially buying a share at £10 a share, and you're going to hold on to that for as long as you possibly can and sell it for £15 a share. There's your £5 share increase, and that's your profit. Across multiple different shares that you've bought, that's a lot of money potentially. Or you're looking at dividends, you're going to get a small percentage back of the money you hold with that company every 3 months, 6 months, whatever it may be. And that's great, but again, like I said, it can change, it can go up, it can go down, it moves with the market. So it is a bit more of a riskier way of using your money, and that's really why I just suggest holding on to it for as long as possible. So to minimise the risk of holding shares, you need to look at splitting your money up into various different areas. The different geographical locations, looking at American stocks, British stocks, Chinese stocks, and also looking at various different sectors. So don't just put all your money into the travel industry, for example. If you have shares in Boeing, Virgin and British Airways, the chances are right now you're struggling and you're seeing a massive dip on your investment. Having that money split into different areas, so like tech, finance, a bit of travel maybe, food, whatever it is, that's really gonna hamper your chances of losing money. So if you have one sector like the industry, like the travel industry, which has dipped, the finance industry might be boosted and increasing, so it's going to weigh each other out. So you're going to make a loss in some shares, you're going to gain in others, it's hopefully going to break even a little bit. Having your money spread out like this is going to mitigate as much risk as you possibly can. Having your money in one specific area and one type of fund isn't a great idea, and actually doing this is probably going to help you to minimise that risk and boost your reward. Just remember that having money in stocks and shares in an investment ISA can take a bit of time to get back. So the time you sell your shares to get it back into your bank account can normally take around 3 to 5 working days. So if you're going to need something really, really quick, this might not be the best thing to do. If you're having to access savings instead, but you can access that money straight away, this might be a bit more of a long-term plan. So obviously the reward with investing is there is room for unlimited growth. You can make returns every year of 5 to 10%, even sometimes 15 to 20% in a year, which is amazing. If you look at a bank account, you're making less than 1% a year, and you see someone investing with the same money making 10, 15, 20%, obviously the temptation is massive. And a lot of people have a lot of fear of missing out, and they just jump on things and put their money into things without doing any research into it, and that's when they come unstuck. Just make smart decisions. Obviously the amount of money you make on returns depends on your level of risk that you're comfortable with. Now, it depends how long you're having your money in there for. For me, my investment account, I'm not planning to touch that money for another 20, 30 years. So I'm quite happy to put it into some riskier stocks and shares with the room for a lot of growth. Whereas somebody who's 60 years old and looking to retire in the next 5 years will probably want to reduce that risk significantly. So compare this to savings. where the money's pretty static in your account. It's not going to change day to day. You might earn a bit of interest at the end of the year, but it's going to be minimal. You can see there's a real difference between the two, and I fully understand why people are moving away from typical savings accounts and looking more at investing, especially with apps like Freetrade and Trading 212. It makes it a lot more easy to access the market. But people don't always think about how the market works, how they can get their money back, and what their actual goals are with the money. So that's the main difference between the two. I hope you got something from that, and it will help you in some way to make a decision with what you want to do with your money. But let's break it down a little bit further and look at what should you be doing right now. For anyone that hasn't got any savings at all, my first goal for them would be to save around a month's worth of bills. So say you earn £2,000 a month and your bills come out, you've got your rent, you've got your council tax, electric, you've got your mobile phone bill, you've got your gym bill. Add it all up, if it comes to say £1,200 a month, then you want to have that saved in case of a rainy day. You don't need to have a full month's wages. I mean, the rest of that money is going to be on petrol and spending and going out, and you just cut as much of that out as you can and bring it right down to the bare bones. What do you have to have each month going out of your account? What can you do without? What can you cancel? And what can you get out of? But literally, what is the minimum amount you have to have? And that should be your first goal. Saving that amount of money is going to give you a bit of security in case of uncertain time. If you have a month where you have loss of income, you lose your job, the company defaults paying you and it can't pay you for another week, you have that money sitting there ready to deploy to pay all your bills, and it takes the pressure off of you so you can just carry on living your life. Once you've achieved this, I would normally say to somebody to try and save between 1 to 3 months' salary. So again, if you're on £2,000 a month, try and save between £2,000 to £6,000. And I know that's quite unachievable for a lot of people. Try and get as close to that figure as you possibly can. Having that money saved up is a real good way of just mitigating any issues in the future. We always looked at a minute ago saving a month's worth of bills, which is like the absolute bare bones minimum you're going to need. But to give you a bit of time and a bit of leeway in between jobs or whatever it may be, you need to have at least 1 to 3 months. Now some people say go up to like 6 months, which for me is a bit excessive. I don't think I would need 6 months money around. I've got insurance, I've got income protection if I was ill. If I lost my job, I'm fairly sure I could find something to fill the gap with regards to temping or whatever. I'll be okay. So 1 to 3 months for me and for many people is probably as much as you're going to need. So once you've achieved this, you need to start developing multiple habits with your money. I would still suggest putting a small amount into a cash fund, letting it grow, but I'd also start looking at using money a bit more wisely and putting it into investments. If you know you've got a nest egg sitting there in your instant access savings account to get you through a couple of rainy days, you're not going to need the rest of it sitting there doing nothing. So you could put it into investing. It does take a bit longer to get out. It takes about 3 to 5 working days like I mentioned earlier, but that's fine, right? Because you've got 3 months worth of savings sitting in your account to see you through. So that 5-day buffer doesn't really matter. You just need to be able to be sure that you can leave the money in your investments long enough for it to grow. And we're talking like a lot of years. 5 years is the absolute minimum. 10 years would be great. Anything over 10 years is when you're going to start seeing some significant growth from your investment. So when are you ready to invest? And this really comes down to your own personal goals. This is different for absolutely everybody. You focused on your savings, you've already cracked that, you've got your 3 months saved up. You've got a bit of money each month going into your savings account to top it up, and the rest of it you're going to deploy into investing. Now, the real goals you need to look at here are your short term, your medium term, and your long term goals. I'm going to break that down for you right now. So your short term goals are anything I will probably define within 0 to 5 years of you needing that money. And that could be anything like a house deposit or going to university for fees, whatever it may be. For this money, if you need it within the next 0 to 5 years, putting it into an investment account is probably not the best way to do this. I would tend to keep this instant access because actually within 0 to 5 years, it's not quite a long enough time for the markets to correct itself if it was to drop, and you might lose money. Now, there are various ways you can use your cash short term within 0 to 5 years and save it more effectively than just a normal instant access savings account. If you're looking at buying your first home and you're saving for your deposit, maybe look at a lifetime ISA. Now there are stipulations upon it. You can only use it to retire or to buy your first home. And your first home has to be, I think it's under £400,000. So depending where you are in the country, it might not really work for you, especially in the south of England or especially London. It might not be the greatest idea, but if you're going to look for a deposit money, that's a good place to store some money in the short term. It pays slightly better rates than you typically get on an instant access savings account, and you also, importantly, get a 25% bonus from the government on anything that you have saved, which is huge, right? So you can get that on top. You say what, £10,000? They'll give you £2,500 on top just for having that account, that ISA. So that's a really great way to do that, and I'd probably suggest people do that rather than investing their money and hoping it's going to grow towards deposits, because it's too risky. Next, we're going to look at medium-term goals, and this is anything really that you're going to need access to within 5 to 10 years from when you start saving. Now, this is okay to use in investments. It is a nice long period of time, but I would suggest probably going for more like fixed, stable rates of return, things like bonds. The rate won't be as high as a riskier stock, but actually it's going to be more stable for you and for what you need it for and the time frame you're going to be investing in. It's going to give you the most security. If the market were to drop in a recession or our coronavirus, it isn't enough time really to correct itself and to gain some traction to recover any losses. So bonds is probably the best direction to head down. Lastly, it's your long-term goals. So this is anything really sort of over 10 to 15 years upwards. And this is the best time for you to start saving and investing. Anything that happens in the market within this time doesn't really matter. You're going to buy your stocks or shares now, you're going to continue to add to that every month or every 6 months, whatever your goals are. And it could be for like retirement, it could be to retire early, it could be to pay off your mortgage in 20 years time, it could be anything at all. And that duration of time in the stock market is going to let you have some significant growth potentially. It's completely natural for the stock market to rise and drop on a daily basis, and large drops do happen. 2008 there was a crash, and 2020 with coronavirus is another one. And it is scary, and a lot of people panic and start to pull their investments out at this point when they're taking losses, which really I don't understand. If you're going to look at having this money in there for 10 to 15 years or upwards, actually you're not going to need to worry about it. The price you buy it at today and the price you sell it for in 20, 30 years time are the only two prices you need to be focusing on. Anything in between, all the up and down in between, is completely irrelevant. It does not matter. Unless you're going to sell your shares on that specific day when the stock's dropped, that's the only time you need to consider it. Otherwise it makes no difference to you at all. So there we go. That is everything you need to know about saving versus investing. So we've discovered that you're going to look at starting to save up 1 month's worth of bills as a first goal. Your second goal really is to save 1 to 3 months of salary. And after that you can look at your short-term, medium-term and long-term goals and decide from there what route you want to go down with investing. It isn't a one-size-fits-all option. There are many different routes you can take and different paths. So start to think of this as your income stream for when you want to retire or retire early. We've discussed how you're going to set up your first goal of having 1 month's worth of bills saved up in case of an emergency. Then we're going to look at your second goal, which is to have your 1 to 3 months worth of savings of your salary. And this is going to tide you over in a case of an emergency, if you lose your job, if you're sick, whatever it may be. It gives you a buffer, it gives you a bit of time to breathe and just get yourself sorted and back on track. And importantly, to start to think of this as an income stream for later life. The earlier you start, the better. You can always set up a pension account for your child when it's got its birth certificate. From that young age, you can start investing in that pension, and it's going to give them the best possible chance of having a really healthy pension pot by the time they're going to need it later on in life. So that's everything from me today, guys. Any questions you may have, please comment below or message me. Again, I appreciate you being here and taking the time to watch my videos. It means a lot. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe and hit the bell and tune in for the next video. Bye, guys.